Okay, so you're playing Engines of War and you really need to hit a whole bunch of monsters and you've got a keep. You should build something on top of it. May I recommend the Ballista? Now, this is really hard to photograph because it's a very, very small piece, but it's probably one of my favorite little physical additions we've made for the game because it's so very toy-like. So if you are at all interested in the Castle Panic Deluxe collection, this is one of those things that I think you're going to enjoy a lot. Let's take a closer look at the mini in focus, and I will show you how it works in the game because the Ballista is awesome. Let's check it out. It may be tiny in the game, but the Ballista is pretty freaking powerful. So as you can see, it is a pretty neat little mini. It's got this little pin on the bottom, and it looks like a little super mega crossbow. And that little pin is important because, well, let me knock over the castle first. That little pin is important because if you look at the top of our keep, you can see there's two little slots. Well, guess what, kids? Boom! In goes the the Ballista onto the top of the keep, and you now have an armed keep ready to attack monsters. So yeah, pretty awesome. Building this little guy now. Once he's built, you get to, like I said, you always rotate the keep facing a color. So let's say we want to rotate him to red, and then we want to use him to attack. Now the Ballista is pretty sweet because it does a really nice attack where it hits the first monster that you target and then does damage to the ones behind it. Now you may be asking, well, how does it hit the monster? Well, what we've done is a system that, if it helps to think of like a bullseye, you're going to need to pay 2 cards in order to fire the Ballista, just hit cards from your hand. One of them has to be the color, and one of them has to be the range that you're targeting. So think of it as sort of like you want to make a little crosshair, right? Like I want to make a little X on this guy between knight and red. So for example, let's say I'm holding in my hand a blue knight card. Well, it doesn't really help on its own. And this red archer, yeah, I could hit the guy in the archer ring, but I'm going to use the Ballista instead, because if I combine blue knight and red archer, I've satisfied the requirements for ring and color, and then I fire the Ballista. Make your own Ballista noise, of course. Mine goes ka-choosh. And then what it does is it does 2 damage to the first monster that you targeted. Now it only targets 1 monster at a time, so if there's 2, you're going to have to pick, but that would knock our troll here down to 1. Then it goes to the monster behind and does a point to him. Again, if there's multiple monsters, you just have to pick 1 point to him. It continues and does 1 point to the guy behind him. So this 1 point goblin is just done. So yes, it goes all the way out into the forest. So ideally, if you can target in the swords and ring and go all the way out into the forest, that's 4 monsters you're damaging. And remember, this isn't a special fancy card you can only do so often kind of thing. If you have the cards, you can pay it. Now you can only fire the weapon once per turn, but if you've got the cards, you can do this every turn. So trade wisely, trade well, and shoot those monsters with Ballista. We'll come back and talk about the catapult later because it's pretty awesome too. Happy gaming, everybody.